You had me at
So I'm pregnant, everybody. Yeah, I'm having my third baby. I can't believe that. 3, 2,
I don't need nobody else. I got you, and you got me too.
You can ride all the blue. I wanna do what you want to. We can leave and run away someday, someday. I've been saving you, and you save me too. Yeah, I need it, don't you need me too? 'Cause I need you. Yeah, so call me anytime that you need a favor. Call me anytime I can come and sit in you. Oh, oh. Call me anytime that you need a friend. And call me anytime when you're out of time. And you, I got you, and you got me too. We can always make it through.
Look who's here, everybody. Isn't she the cutest little dolly you've ever seen? She is beautiful. Just look at her and look at all that hair. Oh, she's a little dolly. And she's just had a lovely bot box, so she's at CP's. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to a very special video. It's when you're gonna meet baby girl. Here she is. So yeah, I thought I would film this now, and I thought I would introduce you to our newest addition. So this is my third baby, if you are new here, by the way. I do have 2 other children. I have Isabella, who's 12, and Harrison, who is 6. And now we have, can we have a drum roll please? I'm not actually trying to hype up her name or anything, by the way, but we literally, I wanted to wait until I knew her full name because we was and ahhing over her middle name. But we've had her first name for a very long time, so middle name might change when we've got up until she gets registered. So until then we're and ahhing. But for now, her name is Olivia Luella Foster. So her name is Olivia. Do you like your name? Yeah, she likes the name. She thinks it's all right. So we have little baby Olivia, and I keep calling her Olivia Lou, which is why we like the name Luella for her middle name. So yeah, little Olivia Lou. Yeah, it sounds like such a grand thing to say her name, but it's really not. It's just we wanted to make sure we didn't change our mind. But yeah, her name is Olivia, but she gets called everything at the moment. She gets called Little Dolly Dot. She gets called Little Dot and just a dolly. Because if you just look at her, look how tiny she is. She's so little. So I thought I would introduce little Olivia as well as tell you my birth story. So obviously, you know, I didn't vlog my birth. I was never planning to. I don't think it's something you want to see. If you want to see me screaming, because that's literally what I did. But I thought it'd be nice to sit down whilst I'm introducing you to her, because she is just the cutest thing ever, and tell you a little bit about what happened for her arrival. So she was preterm, and if you already know and you've watched some of my videos before, I don't even know where to start actually. Hold on a minute. Let's rewind. Hold on a minute. So I've been pregnant for 9 months, and I literally disappeared off YouTube. I didn't completely, but I wasn't really there. I was like in and out of YouTube. So some of my regulars will know that, yeah, I just was not really there. But if you would have known from one of my videos before, from like 29 weeks, I was getting like contractions and stuff like that. So they were worried about preterm labour anyway. And she did come preterm. She come at 36 weeks. So she was really early. So my videos are all back to front at the minute because I feel like this video is the first video that's going to go up. But I have actually got a nest with me. So you're going to see a video on Sunday coming up. On the next video anyway is going to be a nest with me, which was when I was pregnant. So we're going to go backwards a bit, but I wanted to introduce you because I know that you've been waiting to see her and probably hear her name. So I wanted to do that first. So here we are, and I'm going to get onto it. So with the birth, here is the thing. It was a hell of a roller coaster. It went on for many weeks, different things. So I'm going to start with 29 weeks I had early contractions, which I vlogged about. But actually, what actually happened was when I was 31 weeks, I unfortunately got the C word, so the fluey thing, that we don't mention the word on this channel. I did actually get it. It's the first time I got it in this entire time, and I managed to get it when I was heavily pregnant, which was great fun. I didn't know I had it, and I actually got admitted to hospital because I had it quite bad, and I just think it's because I was pregnant. So that's a whole story in itself, by the way, because I got admitted, I felt quite bad, but literally just because I was pregnant. I ended up getting sent home after about 48 hours, and they monitored the baby and everything, but because I was pregnant and I got the C word, I had to take blood thinning injections when I got home. Oh, and by the way, this was, you know, that heat wave we have, you know, the one where it was like 40 degrees, this was just before that, just to let you know. So I was really, really unwell during a very hot period and heavily pregnant. It was loads of fun, not really. But yeah, so long story short, I had that, then I come home, and then I literally was confined to the bedroom because I was trying not to give it to the rest of the house. But I was confined to the bedroom and walking around the house with a mask on when I did walk around, when we was in that heat wave, just to let you know. So yeah, I had that, and then when I was at home, I had to have the injections. They also told me I was anemic at the time, so I had to take iron tablets and everything else. But yeah, got over that. And then about a week after I was home, I then started to have contractions. And basically I actually went to the shopping centre. I went shopping, and as I was walking around, I felt something. This is going to sound like too much information, but by the way, it's the birth story, so you're going to get that. I felt like a little something come out, a bit like I wet myself, you know, that type of thing. I wasn't sure if it was that. It didn't look like that when I went to the toilet. And then I was getting Braxton Hicks. Now, I actually had my consultant appointment that morning because I was consultant-led in my pregnancy, by the way, because I have high-risk pregnancies. Generally for loads of different reasons, but one of the reasons was I also had a preterm. Harrison was preterm, so they put me through consultant care. But anyway, I had a consultant appointment that morning, and when I went there, I just mentioned it because it was on the way there. I went to the shopping centre to get a coffee, basically, and then I went there. And I was getting wrapper paper, I think, for Isabella's birthday. So I went straight to there, and then I mentioned it to them, and they said, okay, let me check. Let's send you up to the assessment just so we can check. So they checked me on the monitor, and they could see I was having contractions, and they were coming like all the time and quite like frequent, you know, like, what do you call it, consistently. So they checked me, they examined me and all that fun stuff. And it turns out it wasn't my waters that had gone or anything like that. But they were really umming and ahhing because they wanted to admit me straight away. And this was, by the way, on the last day of term. So 6 weeks were about to approach. And yeah, the kids were going to be off, and it was terrible timing. But basically, they wanted to admit me. Then they were umming and ahhing for a long time. And then they kept putting me on the monitor. And I was up there about a good 6 hours in the assessment. And in the end, they went, do you know what, we're going to admit you, but because it was preterm. So basically, the reason they were umming and ahhing if they were going to admit me is because they would have had to give me steroids and the magnesium stuff and all of that. So they then decided at night time they were going to admit me, and they put me onto delivery first whilst they give me all of the steroids and the magnesium sulfate or whatever it's called, which by the way is horrendous, just to let you know. I had that and I had the steroids. So long story short, I went there first. Then he examined me again, and he realised that actually my cervix was opening. So they panicked, and they straight away gave me the steroids, put an IV in, gave me all sorts, gave me this magnesium sulfate, which I had to have a doctor in while they give it to you, because basically it makes you really, really hot, like just like as we got a temperature, and it sped up my heart rate in that first dose. But it's basically, the reason they give it to you is because if you're going to give birth early, it's like the steroids are for the lungs, and the magnesium is so that it's for the brain, apparently. So it matures the brain, and so that they don't get things like cerebral palsy and things like that, because they're more at risk of getting that in preterm. So obviously I was only 32 weeks pregnant at the time. And then they monitored me for the 24 hours in delivery suite to make sure that obviously I wasn't going to be about to go into labour, because I literally was having really bad contractions. But yeah, they also gave me a medicine that stopped contractions, which I had with all the Harris and everything else. Within the first 24 hours, the contractions seemed to calm down. They didn't completely go, but they calmed down. And everything seemed to be working well. So they decided to admit me onto the ward for a further 24 hours just to double check that I'm not going to go into labour. Well, it turns out I was actually there for an entire week. And that was a really wow time, I've got to say. And I was just so hot in that ward, I remember it. But anyway, I was there a whole week. I got to know the lunch lady very well, to the point where I had everything on the menu. And I was getting sick and tired of them asking me what I wanted to eat throughout the day. But other than that, yeah, everything in the end was fine, because at one point, basically, you have to have a preterm test when they do a spectrum, and that came back negative until I was on my 3rd or 4th day in hospital, and then it came back positive, and then they wanted to keep me in for that as well. So in the end, they decided to let me go, because I was at 33 weeks at this point, and they decided to let me go because they was like, you know, you're getting on a bit with whatever, you got a consultant next week anyway. It's not happened so far, so likelihood is it probably won't. But I was getting loads of pressure. The contractions were stopping and starting. It was awful, to be honest. And then I came home, and then it was basically bed rest for me. Jonathan did all the cleaning, and he did all of that, which he was doing before that anyway, but I literally did do nothing for at least a week anyway. When I first got home, it was Isabella's birthday not long after, so I was like, I need to wrap her presents. I was ordering around Jonathan to put up all of the stuff. So in the nest with me, when you do see it, or if you have seen it, whenever this is going to go about, you will see that I was saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and the bits that I didn't get to do, no, the bits that I did, in that nest with me was a panic from being in hospital. So it all got put up very quickly. I think Jonathan put the snooze pod up actually whilst I was in hospital, because I was panicking. I told him to just put it up. I think I was on FaceTime trying to help him build that. That was funny. But he did really well anyway. I think I would have got stressed with it, to be honest. But yeah, so we was doing all that, anything, and I wanted to come home, and I was obviously in a nesting mode then as well, and I wanted to clean the windows and stuff like that. But I did just rest and stuff like that. But yeah, after that, I think Isabella's birthday was not long after that, and she was panicking that the baby might arrive on her birthday. It was all a bit funny. And then in the end, I got to 36 weeks, and 36 weeks and 2 days. And my friend, when I hit 36 weeks, I was having on and off contractions in the night time, and they kept coming and going, calming down, and then I had pressure, and it was all a lot. I had all of that going on, and then when it got to when I was 32 weeks and 2 days, I think I was, and my friend come round, I was very much in a nesting mode, I think, at the time, because at that point, when I got to 36 weeks and stuff, and 35 weeks, I think I just thought, no point in being completely resting completely, because my son came at 35 weeks, he was fine, and I get itchy, I have to keep going. I had to, yeah, long story short. So my friend come around at 36 weeks and 2 days, and she brought her daughter, and she was around because it was the 6 weeks holiday. So she come round, and I remember saying to her, very fed up now. I was having on a lot of contractions in the night, and it was never going to happen, and all this, even though obviously I wasn't really wanting to have it at 36 weeks, but at the same time, I'd had enough. It had been going on for many, many weeks of me being in that hospital, and it was very hot. It was the 6 weeks holidays, and I was just very emotional, and I was tired. So I was done with being pregnant, I think. Yeah, so I said to my friend, you know, I've had enough and I'm fed up. She went, you never know, it might happen tonight. And I said, oh, don't say that. So anyway, she was here about 2 hours, and then she decided to go home. When she went home, I went to the toilet, and again, it's going to be far too much information, but it's a birth vlog. It's going to happen. It's a birth story. So when I went to the toilet, I noticed I had blood, basically. And I've never had that in any of my other pregnancies, because the worst thing you can see usually when you're pregnant is blood. However, I did know, because it was mucosia, I did know what it was. I knew immediately what it was. But I'd never experienced that before in any of my other pregnancies. Isn't it funny how every pregnancy is different, and birth? So immediately I was like, oh my goodness, this is it. So I went into Jonathan, into the front room, and I said, it's go time. And basically, again, this is another long story, but during my pregnancy at some point, I did test positive for group strep B, which, by the way, it sounds horrendous, but it's actually not that bad. But it is bad for the babies. So if you give birth, basically it can be passed through the baby through birth. So if your waters did go and you have that, or if you go into labour, whatever it is, you have to immediately go to hospital, because they have to, whilst you're in established labour, they have to put an IV of antibiotics in to make sure the baby, they have to do it so much so that the baby doesn't get an infection when they pass through the birth canal thing, right? So anyway, so obviously I knew that come out, so I thought, this could now mean my water's going to go. Obviously it usually means, it's like the bloody show, it normally means that things are going to happen, and obviously it's something coming out, so I was like, yes, this is going to happen. I did lose my mucus plug with Harrison literally a few hours before he was born, but I never had blood or anything, so this was another thing. So I rung up the labour ward and I told them, and they said, yep, come up, obviously mainly because I had the group strep B, in case they had to give me the antibiotics. So I then went in and they checked me and they said, no, you're not dilating, but I had a lot of more bloody show. I had contractions again, but the contractions felt more like really intense Braxton Hicks. They didn't really hurt, they weren't painful. So they were asking me, do I want pain relief? And I was like, no, because obviously it wasn't really that painful. But they did say, we're going to admit you because this could be a few days off, but we're going to admit you for 24 hours of monitoring just because you have group strep B. Because if this does kick off and it is your third baby and you're going to probably go quite fast in the end, you're going to need to have the antibiotics straight away. And in case my water's going, all of that. So I got admitted again, back I was, see the lunch lady again, and she was like, oh, I remember you. And I was like, oh, it's bad when you know this staff. You've been here a lot. So then I was admitted, and then Jonathan was there with me for a few hours, and then I said, just go home, you've got work tomorrow, don't know if this is going to happen or not. And in the night, like during the evening and stuff, I was getting like contractions where they were a bit more painful, but they were on and off, very like scatty all over the place, but I was getting them. Then they sort of calmed down, and I thought, let me try and go to sleep. This was from about midnight. I went to sleep from about midnight till about 4:30 in the morning, and then I woke up with, they were quite sore, these contractions, and I thought, oh, this is pain now. And they would come in like sort of every 10 minutes, then they went down to 6 minutes apart. I had like the contraction app, sorry. And then I thought, this is it, but I didn't know when to text Jonathan because I knew he was going to work, and I was like, when do I text him for him to come up? Because we obviously don't live that far from the hospital, but his work is further from the hospital, so I didn't know when to sort of, say anything. But I left it, and the kids, by the way, got dropped to my mum's in amongst all of this. I totally forgot. When I went to the hospital originally, the first time when they said come up, my mum came and got the kids. So he dropped me, actually Jonathan dropped me to the hospital with the kids and then brought the kids back. My mum come and picked them up, took them to hers, and then he came back and joined me at the hospital. Anyway, so then I was admitted, I had that. Then at 8:30 in the morning, my contractions basically stopped, and I was like, oh no. And I see the consultant, he come round, and I told him that I was getting quite painful, like consistent contractions since about 4:30 in the morning, and like as in they were actually pain, not like they were really painful, it's just that I was getting pain. And he said, oh, that's good. He actually said, oh, that's good, no offence. He said, but that means it's going in the right direction. And obviously I was 36 weeks, but it wasn't too bad, for being, I was still preterm, but it wasn't too bad. And he turned around and said, we'll see how you go. Has anyone checked you? And I said, no, I've not been checked since yesterday. And he said, right, well, we won't fiddle around too much if you like, because you are still early. So we'll just leave it until we really think you're in labour, and then we'll check you if we need to. He said, if the contractions all die down, then that's fine. You can go home this afternoon. If they don't, you'll go to labour and delivery. Is that okay? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. But obviously by this point, I've been in and out of hospital so much. I'd had enough. It was just getting a bit much, getting on the top of me. So I really, if I'm honest with you, wanted to give birth. So I thought, I'm not leaving the hospital, because I knew it was going to happen. I had the bloody show. So basically what that means, generally, it doesn't happen for everyone, because some people can have that a lot earlier. But generally, I looked it up so much that night, it generally meant that within 3 days, you're going to go into labour. So I didn't want to go home to then be panicked that I have to come back. So I did have this group strep B and all of this, which by the way, I never had in my other pregnancies, but anyway. So yeah, basically then I thought, okay, that's fine. I'm going to get this labour going. So Jonathan came up, so the contraction stopped at 8:30, and then Jonathan came back up at 11 o'clock, and he kind of surprised me, because I did speak to him on the phone at this point and told him I was having contractions, but not to rush and stuff. But then at 11 o'clock, he obviously got off work. He does normally finish at about 12:30, but he got off work, and he obviously decided to come up. And I was having a bit of a bad contraction at the time, actually. And at this point, every time I'd had a contraction, I was going to the toilet and I was having more of that show. So I was getting a bit nervous, and as time was going on, I put the contraction thing on again, and it was like 10 minutes apart, but they were getting a bit painful, like that crushing feeling. They were getting a bit like that. And then basically before that, actually, before they started to get really, really painful, I was saying to Jonathan, let's go for walks. So we was going for walks, and I was actually doing lunges up the stairs in the hospital. So I was doing when you climb 2 steps at a time up the stairs, and every time I did that and went back, my contractions got more, by the way. So this is an advice if you're trying to bring on your labour, if you are full term. I was doing that, and every time I did that, my contractions would pick up again, and I would go to the toilet and I'd get a lot of that show. So it was obviously doing something, and it was obviously bringing her head down a lot. Anyway, fast forward to about 3 o'clock. Now, I was doing a lot of breathing through these contractions, thinking I was bossing it, thinking, do you know what? This is my third baby. I'm going to know how to do this. It's absolutely fine. It got to about 3 o'clock. They were still 6 minutes apart, but these contractions were sore. I now was moaning. Now I had a pain noise coming out of me, and no more breathing was to be had. I couldn't breathe anymore. I wasn't like, yeah, I just wasn't doing my nice, I was trying to do some hypnobirthing, it just weren't working for me. So she put me on the monitor, she come around, she see, and she wanted to check my pad, because I had a pad on, lovely. And she even checked, and she thought, oh, I need to check if that's waters, because there's a lot of things in that. So obviously they check for meconium and stuff like that, in case, and I was having a lot coming out. So then she put me on the monitor, and she was like, you know, baby's fine, but by this point I'm moaning for every contraction. She could see the contractions coming through, but they were still 6 minutes apart, which was really strange, because they were hurting. So anyway, she went, all right, let's just check you. And this midwife really thought I was going home, I think. But she was like, let's just check you. She must have heard a certain noise I was making that she realised that she needs to check me. And so she did, and she went, oh my goodness, you're 5 centimetres and her head is literally right there. She was like, we need to get you around to delivery ASAP. So she said, Jonathan, have you got all the bags? You can tidy up and get all the bags. And she was like, can you walk, Siobhan, like, can you walk, or do you want a wheelchair? And I said, I'll walk, it's absolutely fine. I had another contraction while I was there, and then I walked through and I said, come on. And she was like, wow, you were quick. And I was like, that's because I know that I'm trying to do it before I get my next contraction. So I walked through to delivery, and oh, don't even talk about it. I was actually making jokes walking through. Anyway, I got into the delivery room, and I was so glad, because I was getting gas and air, because I still was refusing medication or anything, because I didn't want any medication or epidural. Long story short, I had an epidural with my daughter, and I didn't want it again. So I didn't have it for Harrison, and I managed to do it with just gas and air, and I wanted to do the same for little Olivia. So when I got around there, I did have the gas and air though, because you can't have that when you're in the ward. So I was so happy to have that. I had my first go at it, and I hadn't obviously done it for a while, and I think I took far too much in, because I finished off the contraction cracking up, just absolutely hysterically laughing, and everyone in the room was laughing with me. Just couldn't stop laughing. And yeah, it was quite a funny moment. In between my contractions, I was talking to the midwife. She was really trying to rush my IV in so she can get the antibiotics in. And like I said, I had like still this 6 minute gap. I still had like 6 minutes gap in between my contractions, which by this point should have been more, because I will tell you why. But all of a sudden, the pain was no more for gas and air. The gas and air was no longer helping. I was at that point biting and screaming. So and really going for it. Yeah, it was really sore when they were coming, but I was talking absolutely fine for 6 minutes in between. It was so strange. Because I'm normally, by that point, when you get that much in pain, it's normally because you're about to push. So she kept saying to me, oh, do you feel pressure? Do you feel like you need to push? And I was like, I don't know, I just really am in pain. So it was like that. And then she checked me, and this is when it gets funny, really. So you've got to have a funny birth story, to be honest, because this was quite funny. Every time when I was getting these pains, because I was quite in a lot of pain. So basically she checked me, and then she said, oh yeah, you're 8 centimetres. And so I was very quickly 8 centimetres from 5. So I knew I was going to go quick. And then she was literally rushing. She was like, please give me time to get this one lot of antibiotics in at least, because the first lot goes in within 20 minutes. And then after that, they're usually supposed to give you a lot more while you're in labour when you have group strep B. But anyway, she panicked and managed to get them in me somehow anyway. not long before, to be honest. But yeah, basically, then I heard a midwife coming in the room. She obviously heard me screaming, and she went, I could hear her saying, maybe she needs to go a wee. So I'm thinking in my head, are they going to get me to get up and go a wee? Because I can't stand up and go anywhere right now. But actually what it meant is she said, I'm going to put a catheter in. And I was off my head, to be honest, on gas and air. I'm going to put a catheter in because I'm going to empty your bladder and it's going to be fine. And I'm like, what? So she did that. And I was literally, I'd had a contraction and I had a lot of gas and air. And I was, woo, in another land. It's good stuff, that. I was in another land. And I could just remember her saying, oh, yes, that's it. And I could hear my urine, lovely. I could hear it going into something, and I could hear her saying, oh, yeah, you definitely needed a wee, love. And it was the way she said it. So I was going, oh, did I? And I'm laughing. Jonathan's cracking up, thinking, yeah, you did. It's empty. Honestly, apparently that was stopping me from her head coming down to the point where she's coming. So it's stopping something from happening, which is why I was in so much pain, but yet nothing was happening. But not for very long. That's how quick it all was. And then basically she went to me. I had this almighty pain, and as I had this almighty pain, she said to me, "Do you feel the pressure now?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I'm on the gas and air going, "Yeah." And she's like, "Now you're allowed to push." So I was, and oh my goodness, I was trying to do it in one. I think I literally. Do you know when they say about the ring of fire? I don't think I remember ever experiencing that, especially with Harrison, because obviously with Isabella I had the epidural, so I wouldn't remember. I always used to be like, what's this ring of fire? Oh, I can remember it now. I know what it's like. And because of that, I was trying to push out one, and I was screaming so loud, right? So loud, with the gas and air, not even using the gas and air, I was just biting on it, screaming that I couldn't hear a word. She was there miming all these words to me over my head. I felt like I was in another planet. She was telling me to stop the gas and air for starters, and she was going to me, trying to say something to me. I couldn't hear her for my own screaming. But then I come to a bit, and I could hear her saying, she was shouting at me, she was like, if you do not want to tear, you need to listen to me. So I was like, oh yeah, I don't tear. I'll listen to you now. So I'm looking up at her like, oh my God. And that's when she was like, little pushes. And then and that's when the head come out. And then literally one more push. So in total, I think it was 3 pushes. The little pushes were classed as 1 because they were just literally me easing her head out, so I didn't tear. Sorry, am I knocking you around a bit? Sorry, darling. But yeah, so then they basically, so then she was pretty much born. It was so quick. In fact, just before that, she actually broke my waters as well. Because the waters, she said they were bulging from the minute I got in there, and she was like so tempting to break them, and in the end she did, because I think you would have been born in your waters, darling. So then the baby was born, and I was immediately like, oh my God, is she okay? Like everybody, I think you immediately do that, don't you? But to be honest with you, I had this really weird thing, like when she was born, like I was really worried about her, and I was right. I mean, she needed help, the midwife. She actually said because she was on her own, and she said to Jonathan, I think it was so busy up there, she said, can you put your hand by the buzzer, and can you press that? If I tell you to press that, press it. And I was holding on to Jonathan as well at this point as well. Apparently I ripped all his hair out of his legs. But yeah, so he had his hand near the buzzer just in case, and if she would have said, press it, and the doctors would have come in, because she was preterm, so they were ready for in case, you know, something was wrong. But when she was born, she came out and she cried, and she was absolutely fine, and I just kept saying, is she okay, and then I think I kept saying sorry. I did this with Harrison, I believe. I kept saying sorry because I was because I'd screamed, and then I was saying sorry for asking for, I just kept saying sorry for everything. Don't know what that was all about. But yeah, then she was born and she was fine. And then we had a little bit of it went a bit, so, do you know what, I'm going to take this off you now. You can see her hair. Look how much hair she has. Literally look how much hair she has. That's absolutely insane. Just look how beautiful she is. I took that silly bow off you, haven't I? Mummy took it off you, yes, because that's silly, but I just like to dress. I don't actually that's the first time I put a bow on her. It's because it actually fits. It's one of them loose ones. Anyway, back to the story. So it doesn't hurt her head or anything before anyone comes at me in the comments, just to let you know. It's more like a hat. It's a bit like a hat, you know. But I thought I'd take that off her because she doesn't need it, you know. Just try and dress her up there, but you don't need to be dressed up. It's It's all right. You've got beautiful hair, darling, and you're beautiful. Right, we come to the bit of the story that isn't that great, but when she first come out, she was a bit blue. Most babies are, and then they pink up. She pinked up quite quickly. She was crying. She was fine. But she did have a blue mouth for quite a bit of time. So I did skin to skin, and we had all of that, and she was fine. But then when they obviously moved her over to check her and then obviously dress her and all of that, they thought, you know what, her mouth is quite blue. They got the doctor in to check. And to be honest with you, she was probably quite fine. But because of like the fact that I had group strep B, she was preterm and all of that, the special care doctor came in. And basically they was like, you know, we want to take her to special care. So that was really upsetting. And no one was really talking. It was quite quiet in the room, which was really stressful for me. Because I was actually in a lot of pain. By the way, after your third baby, they talk about after pains. Yeah, they definitely do get worse. I was having that, and then I needed pain relief free because I remember I only done it with gas and air. So I had no paracetamol, no dihydrocodeine. I had nothing in me whatsoever. So I needed something at this point. I felt sick, which I normally do after giving birth and all of that. At the same time, I was very dazed and in pain and all of that, as well as everyone was quiet over there. No one was telling me what was going on with the baby, so I was a bit nervous. So anyway, they eventually come over and the midwife was very upset actually because the midwife was like, you know, she didn't really need to go around there, but it's fine. They come over and they said, we're going to take her to special care because the oxygen isn't working there and we think she might need a little bit of oxygen. Again, she was breathing, she was fine, but they just, because of the blue. And also, just in case she had an infection. So if you remember, I had group strep B and all of that. So because they only got one lot of antibiotics in me and she was showing all of these things, I think her temperature was a little bit raised, things like that. They thought, you know what, let's just take her to special care, which I was quite fine with in the end, but it was a bit of a kerfuffle at the time because, like, a bit of a all over the place because, you know, the midwife was a bit upset. There was a bit like, because she was a bit like, no, the baby was fine to be with mum, and obviously the baby getting taken to special care, it's not very nice. You've just given birth, you want your baby and you don't want them to go to special care. But it was fine, and she went, and then eventually I got some paracetamol and dihydrocodeine to sort my after pains out, and then I got into a shower, and then we got all ready and packed up basically in delivery. Obviously, I had toast, but I didn't actually eat because I was so sick. They had to give me an injection in the end because I needed the anti-sickness. And yeah, me and Jonathan, I'd actually sent Jonathan around there to special care with her. To go and check on her to see, you know, and he'd done a little video of her and all of that to show me and pictures and just to make sure she was all right. And he come back and told me. And then I got in the shower and then we decided to go round to special care and packed up all the bags ready so that when we got moved to the ward, because this was at night time, she was born at 7:03 p.m. Which, by the way, all my kids come around about 7 o'clock. So Isabella came at 10 to 7. Harrison came at 20 to 7 at night and she came at 7:03, so crazy. So yeah, basically then we went around special care and we see her, and then they was like, you know, she's had antibiotics, she's had blood tests, she's going to be fine to come back to you on the ward now. So I was like, oh brilliant, so that was lovely. So I got to, because I thought I might not have her at the night and I was a bit upset about that. So yeah, then we went round to the ward and we got settled in. We stayed in for 2 days. Yeah, she was fun. Hello, so I'm coming to you looking a little bit less put together. The end of that clip, when I was filming that yesterday, and the doorbell went and my friend arrived and I didn't realise she was coming. So I thought I better stop, and I did. And then I didn't get to end it. So I just thought I'd come on and end it now looking, like I say, no makeup on, you know, as you do. Ignore the background, it's a mess, but that's newborn life. What do you expect? So yeah, I've just wanted to end it with saying that she was born at £5.2. She was nearly 4 weeks early, so she was nearly 4 weeks preterm. Well, I had her at 36 weeks. And yeah, all was well, and we stayed in for 2 days. She was under the special care team, but literally she was in the ward with me, so I never had to, you know, go a night with her being in the neonatal without me, so that was really good, and she'd done really well. And everything was fine. And then we got sent home after 2 days. So she was really good at feeding and everything else. But yeah, I just wanted to come on and say that she was £5.2 born, and she was born at 7:03 p.m. night. And yeah, everything went well in the end. So I'm sure that will end the vlog there, the birth vlog. But next, like I said, will be, I don't know if I've said it in this vlog, but in the next one will actually be, so after this, immediately, if you're watching this in real time,
will actually be the nest with me that I was meant to put up before. So it's all going to be a bit backwards. And then we'll be back to my regular content. And I'm hoping that I'll be back into my normal routine of uploading on a Wednesday and a Sunday again. So let's get back into it. But if you are new here, make sure you do subscribe. If you did like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Thank you to everyone who has messaged me on Instagram and commented on my Instagram post congratulating us. We are still in the little newborn bubble, and it's taken me a little bit of a time to upload this video just because I've been in the newborn bubble, soaking it all up, with it being my third baby. I'm trying to, and my last, I'm trying to make sure I make the most of it. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Isn't she just the absolute cutest? I mean, oh my goodness, look at all that hair she's got. She's just got so much hair. She's so cute, and she's getting so big already. She's 3 weeks old now. 3 weeks, little miss, slow down. So cute. I could eat her up. She's so cute. Aw, say bye-bye.